A new year brings a new beginning.
Oh my god, Leandra, you're pregnant too?
What? No. Are you?
No. But I do like making deliveries, which brings me to one of my favorite subjects, FedEx Office. If you're just starting or have been running your company for generations, FedEx Office can give you the best way to print marketing materials, posters, signage, graphics, and so much more.
With FedEx, creating, editing, saving, and ordering are fast and easy. We're teaming up with FedEx and Podgo to bring our listeners 30% off of their next order of $100 or more at podgo.co/FedEx.
That's podgo.co/FedEx for 30% off your next order.
FedEx,
FedEx, the
the
world
world
on
on time.
time. I wish I was on time, am I right?
You're never on time. Be more like FedEx. Rocky Horror Minute is rated R. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is also rated R. We're going to spend this time discussing the movie in gory detail, and along the road we will talk about some adult content and use some of our favorite swear words.
Butthole Road, Cockshoot Close, Fanny Hands Lane.
Consider yourselves warned.
Welcome to Rocky Horror Minute, the podcast where we discuss the Rocky Horror Picture Show 1 minute at a time in excruciating detail. I'm one of your hosts, Kelly.
And I'm your other host, Leandra.
And tonight we have a very special treat for you. We have Jamie Anderson with us of Radio Clash Revival.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you're actually our first female guest, so I'm glad it's not going to be such a sausage fest in here.
Oh, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's typically a couple minutes of us going, so, who are you? How are you doing? And then they'll go, yeah, by the way, Columbia's hot.
I mean, you're still allowed to think
fail.
Columbia is hot. But it's literally every guest we've had so far apparently has a bad... Oh, wait, except for Oscar, because he's, Why don't you tell us if you remember the first time you saw the movie and what your experience is with Rocky Horror?
The first time that I saw it was, I think it must have been late high school or early college. It was with a friend of mine from high school who I actually, probably a lot of your guests did high school theater and was one of the people who later in life turned out to be queer after doing high school theater. Cause and effect, not sure the relationship there, but this friend of mine who was probably the only person who was out in my Catholic high school introduced me to the movie, and we watched it at his parents' house, and I loved it at the time. And then sometime a little bit later, we went to see one of the midnight showings at Denver's Esquire Theater, which is a fixture here in Denver. It's definitely the midnight movie zone. Can't wait for that place to open again, because I think they still do Rocky Horror once per month when it's not COVID times. So, and then, I hadn't seen it for a really long time, but the kind of glam rock scene has always been very inspirational to me. I've read a lot of books about it, and obviously Rocky Horror is part of that. So kept it in mind, and then I watched it again last night and was like, wow, this movie is incredible. Why have I not been watching it again all these years? Before I watched it last night, I'd read reviews to kind of get an idea of what to talk about today. And people kept saying the movie only has 80 on Rotten Tomatoes, and people found it disappointing from the stage show. So I was like, maybe it's not as good as I remember, but I was 100% entertained the entire way through. Loved everything about it. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at.
Today we are talking about minute 37, which is sort of the first minute that involves Sword of Damocles. Leandra, what happens in this minute?
So much stuff. Well, not so much stuff. But this really picks up the pace. It starts with Rocky grabbing the edge of the tank to pull himself up. Then, mostly using upper body strength, he brings himself up to a standing position. He brings his arms parallel to the floor. Riff Raff climbs up the screen left ladder of the tank and reaches over to Rocky to pull his face bandages off. When we see Rocky's face for the first time, shocker, it's a blonde-haired man with a tan. We hear a bunch of yowls and scattered cheers from the Transylvanians, and Frankenfurter gasps and says, "Oh, Rocky." Rocky groans, and Riff, who's gotten back to the sonic transducer board, is now cackling maniacally while pulling the wheel that he was pushing. He's now pulling that in the opposite direction as he was before, and this brings the chandelier thing that Rocky is clinging onto back up into the ceiling. And of course, Rocky begins to sing. Rocky begins to sing. More on that later. But he says, "The sword of Damocles is hanging over my head, and I've got the feeling someone's going to be cutting the thread." Frank then runs down the ladder and kicks Riff Raff, saying, "You idiot." Rocky continues with, "Oh, woe is me. My life is misery." And then Riff Raff has petulantly started wheeling the chandelier back down, and Rocky continues to sing while descending, "Oh, can't you see that I'm at the..."
Yeah.
And that's how this minute ends.
So Rocky's hair.
Tell me about it.
Why is it like that?
It's a bowl cut.
Was that style like in for a hot guy in the 70s?
It wasn't not hot. That was, I think, his hairstyle of it.
I beg to differ that it was not hot, but something about that like really straight bowl cut. It's just a shame. Was that fashionable in the 70s?
I mean, I know that the Beatle cut was fairly fashionable prior, and I know that they were kind of going for that timeless feel. So
it's true. I don't know. It's unfortunate, but I guess I did forget about the Beatles.
I think it gives him like a kind of an innocent look too.
It does make him look like a little boy, which is weird.
Yeah. But he is an infant in some sense.
True.
It is true. And I just remember when Oscar and I first started doing Rocky, he had a wig that he purchased at some party store, but it was called like the Beach Bum wig. And that was the coolest wig that we had for a while. And then we replaced it with one that was not bad. But that one was fun.
I just looked up Charles Atlas to see if he had that haircut, and he didn't.
No.
Nope.
That's a good thought, but no. I mean, I can't think of any like. It's not the kind of hairstyle you associate with like a muscle man.
No.
Are you yucking Frankenfurter's yum?
Yes. I mean, honestly, if I were to build my ideal mate, Rocky would not be it.
No.
It would not be a male. But also,
I mean,
it would, if it were to be a male in this movie, it would probably be Barry Bostwick, for being honest.
We love Barry Bostwick and his gigantic cock.
Yeah, we do. Barely stuffed into those gigantic underwear.
Those ridiculous underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've gotten at least confirmation that he wasn't stuffing. So, like, that's just like you're seeing Barry Bostwick right there. And I'm just like, good for you, buddy.
He should listen to the podcast.
He was like one of my first fictional crushes. My first fictional crush ever, not that anybody cares, was Mottel from Fiddler on the Roof, the movie. So that should just give you an idea. The other thing I was going to ask is, what do we think those bandages were for?
I have some practical reasons and thoughts on it.
Okay.
I have some aesthetic thoughts on it, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about in universe, because I'm sure, like, out of universe, it's just, like, in the real world, it was just because it made for a good visual. But I like to explore what the in-universe explanation would have been for some of the things in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie, what do you think?
You know, he's obviously been like incubating in this tank. Maybe his body was not like ready to be exposed to the elements quite yet.
Oh, I love that.
So he had to be wrapped protectively. He's swaddled in a mummy-like womb.
So the practical reasons are kind of twofold. First off, the Rocky Horror Picture Show actually inherited this dummy that Peter Hinwood is dressed up like. So in previous minutes, we discussed that the tank is not built specifically for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was originally built for The Revenge of Frankenstein. And
oh, that's really interesting.
So the dummy the dummy was also used in Revenge of Frankenstein, but I'm fairly sure that it actually was created for The Curse of Frankenstein. So you have this kind of mummied up, kind of male-shaped doll that is used to being submerged in tanks, and then they replace him with Peter Hinwood, and now he's covered in these wraps so that they don't have to make another prop.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's great for like a reveal. I love that about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the idea that it was protecting him from the elements.
Yeah. Well, also just, you know, there's like so many horror movie references. I also thought it might just be a reference to like The Mummy, which I know, like not the Brendan Fraser one, but the earlier version of that type of monster.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I totally think it's referencing that. I mean, I think it's obvious that it's referencing Frankenstein and a bunch of other things.
Mm-hmm.
So
I really love what you said about how it's a prop from an earlier movie. I feel like we've lost that so much with like, you know, how much digital things are in movies now. People don't have to try to reuse old props because of budgetary reasons.
Oh yeah. I've been holstering that bit of information for this part of the movie since kind of the beginning of my research. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to tell everybody that it's from Revenge of Frankenstein. People are going to go, this is so cool.
I love it. I think that is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully our listeners do too. Otherwise, listeners, step up your game.
They would not have come this far. We're 37 minutes in at this point. The other big thing that I had in this minute was in the commentary with Richard O'Brien and Patricia Quinn. Richard O'Brien said it was actually really hard to get actors with a build in those days. He said it was everybody, like now it's obviously really easy because everybody, in his words, everybody's pumping iron. But in those days, he said everybody wanted to look like he said they all wanted to look like they'd been done in, like they'd been drinking with your husband, Robert, he said to Patricia Quinn.
And I guess that checks out because I know that you've said in previous minutes that Richard O'Brien found Tim Curry again, kind of rediscovered him while he was at a gym. And Tim Curry is just working out. And Richard O'Brien goes, hey, would you like to audition for this play? And then he becomes Frankenfurter.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was at the gym trawling it to see if he could find somebody to play Rocky because he was like, well, this is the only place I'm going to find strong guys.
I don't remember which minute it's in, but at some point during this scene, Frankenfurter gives Rocky like I think it's called the horse, like for gymnastics.
Oh, the pommel horse, yeah.
The pommel horse. And Tim Curry is also like doing some very athletic things on the pommel horse while he's dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Like his dancing is super physical as well, so.
Yeah, it's true. He was a very athletic guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, some of the things that he does and like the dance moves are really impressive. And now for a commercial break.
Hi, I'm Aaron.
I'm John.
And I'm Nikki.
We host Rocky Talkie Podcast, a weekly program where we talk about worldwide Rocky Horror related news and current events from the shadowcasting community.
We cover big global news stories about the movie, the play, the actors, and the shadowcasters.
We also fill you in on all the cool Rocky related projects that individual casts and shadowcasters are working on.
We learn a lot about the history of the movie and the community. It's a good time. We just did an episode all about the pornos. Ooh.
If you want to learn more about Rocky in the news and catch up on what's going on with other community members, visit our website, rockytalkiepodcast.com.
And if you've got some news to share, send us an email at rockytalkiepodcast@gmail.com.
Our episodes drop Thursdays on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. So come check us out and visit us on all social media at Rocky Talkie Podcast.
We'll see you next Thursday. Snoogans.
You said see you next Thursday.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Of course.
Is Rocky supposed to be hot?
Yes. I think. I mean, I think.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. He definitely is. And I have confirmation from many gay male sources that he
Okay.
is considered very hot.
Okay.
Also, weirdly, my mom, who is a card-carrying lesbian and married to a woman, when she watched this movie with me again several years ago, she kept saying, like, he did have a really nice body. He actually
does have a
did
nice
have
body.
a really nice body. And I was like, I know. I don't know. What do you want from me? But, but it was like she was surprised. But yeah, I mean, it's funny too, because I think even like by today's standards, he's not that muscular. Like when you think about some of the Hollywood actors that are like really built today, he wouldn't hold a candle to them in that department. But yeah, he's never been my thing. I've said before, he's like maybe an objectively attractive person, but not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if there were a Blue Clues episode and the result was Leandra not being attracted to men, not being attracted to Peter Hinwood would be like the first clue that Blue goes, bark, bark. And all the preschoolers are like, she's gay. She's gay.
But it takes 20 more minutes to establish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that I paid so little attention to him, even when he is in the floor show outfit at the end with the fishnets and everything, should have been a clue. Because I do find Barry Bostwick very attractive in this, but for me, it's always going to be Susan Sarandon and Patricia Quinn.
Yeah. I'm with you. And Tim Curry, honestly.
Oh, right, of course, Tim Curry. That well, so are you the first of our guests for whom Columbia is not the hottest character?
Yeah, I guess so, because it's either Tim Curry or Susan Sarandon.
Yeah.
Like Columbia is definitely hot.
So I think Little Nell is an attractive person and hot, but Columbia does not do it for me, except on like an aesthetic level. I love her costume, but yeah.
Right.
It's, for some reason, all of our male guests so far, besides Oscar, have just been crazy about that voice she does. So.
Oh, I was going to guess it was like something about redheads.
Well, no, because Patricia Quinn is a redhead, so you'd think.
Oh, yeah, fair.
That was what I had for the minute. Leandra, I'm sure you have lots of insanely detailed notes.
This is kind of interesting because Peter Hinwood could not sing, not even a note. So all this is sung by Trevor White. I have some deets about Mr. Trevor White. He was best known at the time as being a singer for the English band Sound Incorporated, and that was from 1968 to 1971. He got into Jim Sharman's orbit through, Kelly, if you had to guess, Hair or Jesus Christ Superstar?
Well, I'm always going to guess Hair at this point.
Okay, well, this one's Jesus Christ Superstar. He played Jesus. So
okay.
It was Jim Sharman's production of Jesus Christ Superstar, and he ended up appearing on the Australian soundtrack LP for that production. So you can hear Jesus as Rocky or Rocky as Jesus, if that is something that delights you. Of course, after leaving the Jesus role in 1974, Trevor White was visiting London while Sharman and musical director Richard Hartley were working on the audio for the movie, and they were unhappy with the vocalizations of Peter Henwood. So Trevor White was hired on to record Rocky's vocals for the movie along with the singing. So the song Sword of Damocles was sung by Trevor White and was originally left off of the soundtrack album, but it was later added back on. Fun things about Trevor White: immediately after Rocky Horror, he went on the road with the Kinks. Later, he became the guitar player for Sparks, and other bands that he played around with are Pink Floyd with Dark Side of the Moon, Led Zeppelin, Elton John with Madman Across the Water, Deep Purple, and my personal favorite, Procol Harum. And the song that people haven't heard from Procol Harum is Whiter Shade of Pale, which is a song I love.
That's cool he was in Procol Harum. I also am a Sparks fan. I did not know that.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. So I was actually looking at pictures of him, and I'm interested to know if he had been available earlier had Peter Henwood been cast. Trevor White is fairly attractive, at least at this time. He's
What's his hair like?
It's kind of a shaggy brown mop of hair.
That's an improvement.
Very somewhat Jesus-y, one would say. I always wonder what if. I know that Peter Henwood isn't offended by people saying that he couldn't sing. He'll be the first one to say it. He is actually quite embarrassed of his acting choices and his inability to sing in this. So he's still around. We've discovered he used to be an antiques dealer over in the UK. But this was essentially the last time he was on screen. Just as soon as Peter Henwood goes up off of the floor of the tank, and he's just kind of waiting for Riff Raff to pull the face mask off, he's got happy feet. He's kind of tip-tapping and on tiptoe, just like lots of frenetic energy and inability to stay still. And I don't know if that was intentional, and I'm trying to figure out what the motivation for that would be. But it's just, he's very much just like buzzing with energy. So
maybe because he's just new.
Oh yeah, I guess he might have like a fully charged battery.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a wind-up toy, and you're like holding him, and then you let him go, and then he zooms away.
Yeah. I have to say that I love the sound effects associated with the whole like machinery of creating him.
Oh, absolutely.
They're just incredible. Particularly when Frankenfurter is like squirting the multicolored liquid, the noise that it's making is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
I think that was in an earlier minute, but yeah.
It is.
That's true.
They clearly had access to like 4 sounds and anything else.
Great job.
He just had one of those like keyboards.
Oh, he's got a synth and he's just going.
It totally convinced me. I was like, these are the noises this machine would make. So
yeah. But he did a good vocal performance. I do like it. I just think that like it's not one of the strongest for me, maybe. But so that only tells me what Peter Henwood's must have been like. No offense, Peter Henwood.
I feel bad for Peter Henwood. He auditions, he gets this role, and then he isn't able to sing, and he's probably like, okay, that's fine, I understand that. But then they dub over his grunts. I would just fall on my sword. I'd be so embarrassed.
It's not my favorite song either.
That is true.
It is not mine.
Yeah.
It's not my least favorite. I think that we can all agree that the worst is Eddie's Teddy. Spoiler alert for future episodes. Do you disagree, Leandra?
I'm going to have to circle back to that one.
Interesting.
Do you like Eddie's Teddy?
No.
Oh, whew. I was about to quit. My artistic differences.
I mean, yes.
Yeah, fuck you.
Fuck you too, buddy.
But yeah, I mean, Sword of Damocles is okay. I mean, in a couple minutes here, we're going to rate it, and it's not going to do so well as any of the previous songs, I don't think.
I think that's fair. I think that's accurate. The only thing that I really wanted to talk about next are Frank's face acting. And Riff has this ridiculous cackle and right before the song starts where he sounds like he's doing the wipeout laugh. Like, I keep expecting him to go, wipeout!
Yeah. That's good.
God, that's true.
I feel like when he says Rocky, it's so good.
Rocky.
Oh, yeah.
Just incredible line delivery.
Given the fact that this is a very long scene where there's honestly not a lot that happens. They're in this lab, and it's mostly just you're supposed to get by on the charisma of Tim Curry, and I gotta say, it works.
It does.
Yeah.
I think it does.
The scene does still drag for me, if we're being honest, but he is always a bright spot.
He is pulling this show along as best as he can. He can only talk for so long.
But yeah, no, I mean, his facial expressions and everything, I actually especially love him in an upcoming minute here in the lab. But just everything, he was just the best.
But those are all of my notes for this. Like I said, it's actually fairly light as far as details for this.
Mm-hmm.
So we can jump on into callbacks if that works for all of you.
So I only know a couple of callbacks here, but they're good ones. So we have when you see his hand reach up and grasp onto the side of the tank by a screw, the callback is only a day old and already reaching for his first screw. Classic puns. And then when Riff walks over to pull the hood off of him, the callback is circumcise him, Riff. Just one of many great circumcision-based callbacks. Then the other one I know is that it's kind of just to the tune of the song. You can sing Grease Lightning.
Grease Lightning, go Grease Lightning.
Yeah, the beat lends itself so you can go Grease Lightning, you're burning up the quarter mile. But yeah, you kind of have to hear the beat of the song to see how that one fits in. That's what I got.
Isn't there a chant about being horny somewhere in here? Maybe I'm wrong and not remembering this correctly, but...
There are several times where it's appropriate to chant that somebody is horny.
Okay.
I don't know if it's in this moment, but there's one coming up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think you might be thinking, if you're horny and you know it, bang the bars.
That's what I'm thinking of, yeah.
So that's right after this song wraps up.
Oh, okay. I knew it was around this time, but yeah.
But you're always consider it a safe space to chant that you're horny or something at any point.
Thank you.
I'm horny. And
I appreciate
it's always
that.
gonna fit in, yeah.
I'll say thank you for speaking your truth.
Yeah, exactly.
So just before I forget again, you said that the first Rocky show that you saw live was in Denver. That was probably Colorado's Elusive Ingredient, which I think is a kind of timely name for a cast, given that we're talking about the lab scene. So
Yeah.
Jumping into callbacks, though, I know Kelly said the 10 seconds old and already looking for a screw. I like the kind of callback to the callback of too bad he gets a nut.
Oh.
And then there's introducing the world's first self-inserting tampon, because he kind of pops up and he's just in bandages and he looks like a tampon. And that lends itself nicely to going, I am tampon man, try to insert me if you can. It's very fun.
That is good.
So there's circumcise him Riff, and then give him an Irish name, Frank, because then he goes, oh, Rocky. It's oh, Rocky.
Oh my god, I've never heard that. That's so good.
Oh, that's like my favorite one for this.
Oh man.
And if you don't do that one, when he says Rocky, while Rocky is grunting, you can go, Adrian! And then the final one for this minute is, and I've got the feeling someone's going to be cutting the thread. Instead of cutting the thread, you can say, giving me head. So I would say, no, sir, you shouldn't have that feeling at all. I'm not attracted to you. But I'm sure that for somebody, that's a likelihood.
But Frank probably will.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives Brad head.
He's a giver. He's a very giving lover.
If that's all we got, I guess we can sign off.
Okay, and we'll do that the way that we end all of our episodes. And Jamie, feel free to speak along with us. We're going to try and say this all together and fail. We're going to go, now.
You don't have to go home,
but you can't stay here.
Get the fuck out.
You know what? I think we got it perfect for the first time ever.